Hey people, so I'm going to go through the Kehinde Wiley project and adding patterns to it quickly. I'm going to make it a little bit easier and quicker this time because I think what we were having issues with certain pattern layers not merging. So I went ahead and I created a bunch of patterns that fill the composition for us to use. They're in the Google Classroom assignment, so check it out and download one of those patterns that's in the Google Classroom assignment because you'll see them come in that already are big enough to fill your composition. This is the end kind of result where we have a pattern in the front, right? And then we have our subject sandwiched between the pattern and then a pattern in the back. Right. So let's just kind of start over. I'm going to delete this pattern, and this is where everyone should be at by now. And so just download one of those patterns from Google Classroom, those Honorable patterns, and then go to File, Open Place to place it as a layer. Right. So there's my new pattern layer. I'm going to move it up. And so they're all coming in as smart objects, and you can't delete pixels from smart objects. So you have to rasterize the smart objects. With that layer selected, I can go Layer, Rasterize. And you'll see the smart object icon will disappear. And now you can paint on it and you can edit it. But really, we're deleting the background first. So head over and click the magic wand tool. Right? And then you should be able to just click once and it select the whole background. If continuous is checked, it might not select everything. Here, if I try that again, it's not going to select, well, maybe it might, depending on your pattern. So anyways, if the whole thing's not getting selected, it's probably continuous, or you can change the tolerance. So I usually just leave continuous unchecked. And then, so we click once on the background, and then you should be able to hit backspace and delete everything that's that background color. Perfect, easy. And now the idea is to change the color of the pattern. So what you really have to do is, the best way to do this is to invert the selection. You could just Command D and to deselect, and then try to select the actual pattern, and it'll do an okay job, but I just have better luck by inverting the pattern. So I'm going to do it that way. I'm going to, again, just select the background, and then to invert the selection, you go to Select, Inverse, and then hopefully it just reverses the selection, and you should be able to paint bucket the pattern, the whole pattern. So there you go. You can just do it with the paint bucket tool. The other options are using the brush tool and kind of going at it selectively. I can change the color of each one of these squares, rectangle, or diamond shapes. Right. You can do it that way, or gradients work as well. So you can pick a gradient. There's preset gradients. You just don't want one that has any transparency, or you could always kind of customize your own gradient. Let's see, another yellow. All right, so there's my custom gradient. I'm gonna hit OK, diamond, and then so it's still selected, like just the pattern area selected, and should be able to click and drag, and it's only filling the pattern, what's selected. So play around with it and make it look nice. Choose your colors wisely. And once you get the colors and the placement right, then you really just have to duplicate the pattern. So I'm just going to Command D to deselect. Right, that's what it looks like. And we need to duplicate this pattern layer and put one underneath our subject. So Command J is to duplicate. There's also layer, duplicate layer right here. So yeah, we're going to put that copy underneath our subject. There we go. So we have layer on top, subject, layer on the bottom. All right. And so to make these look like Kehinde Wiley's paintings, we want to try to get the pattern to wrap around the subject only in some areas, but we still want to see the subject, so we want to mask away the part in his face, or your subject's face especially. So you can go to that top pattern layer, because that's what we want to mask. And this is the little mask button right here. It's a little circle with the square in it. You can click that and it'll add a mask, or you can go to Layer and Raster Mask, and then Reveal All, I guess. So there's the mask right there in the Layers palette. So make sure that if you're editing the mask, make sure you're selected on the mask and it has that border around it. If you're selected on the image, you're really just going to be like painting with black and white, and that, you know, doesn't make any sense. We need to mask away and hide part of the pattern. So click on the mask. You've made that mask, and black conceals and white reveals. So you can just switch your colors to black and white right here, and then hit B for brush. And bracket keys make the brush bigger or smaller. Don't forget about that. I'm just going to like paint away, and you don't necessarily need to worry about like masking away too much of the background, because you have this other background pattern layer. So anyways, you just want to like be a little careful, and you know, like that's kind of not wonderful job right there if you just like go through it like that. You want to like have the pattern kind of look like it's really coming in front of your subject and not being broken by you know, the brush. So I'm going to really mask out this whole big piece and make my brush smaller. You can see like the mask changing in the Layers palette. Like, kind of want to see his hand. But yeah, so trick is finding a good spot where it looks like it's naturally kind of coming over from the background and wrapping around your subject. Legs are a good spot. You know, if your person is holding something fun like a cane, you might want to mask around it, like kind of like this whole thing coming over, but around his hands. Just going to like remove that a little bit. Yeah, so hopefully you get the idea of using like the magic wand tool to delete the background, invert the selection, and paint up and change the color of your pattern, and duplicate the pattern so it's sandwiched between your subject, and then just mask the top layer, that top pattern layer, so the pattern doesn't cover your subject's face or any other important parts, but seems to create this illusion of the pattern enveloping and coming around the subject.